Welcome to the annual meeting of the Chenango County IDA. Since it's our annual reorganizational meeting, I'll go ahead and do roll call.
Zeno here.
Given here.
Burton.
Blanchard here. Raymond here.
Ryan here.
Corey here. Did you hear me?
Thank you. Yes, thanks. Good morning, Mike. Next, we have election of officers, resolution 2022-1. You have a list of officers in your packet. So it'll be one resolution, officers as presented, which is Brian Burton as chair, Pete Raymond as vice chair, Randy Gibbons serving as secretary and treasurer, and Blanchard serving as secretary and treasurer. So we have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second,
Zeno second.
roll call.
Zeno aye.
Given aye.
Burton.
Blanchard aye. Raymond
Ryan aye.
Corey here.
Thank you. Motion passed, and I'll turn the meeting back over to our chair, Brian Burton.
Okay, welcome everybody. We'll continue on with a resolution 2022-2, resolved that the Chenango County IDA has approved the 2022 slate of committee members as indicated below. Audit and Finance Committee consisting of Brian Burton, Pete Raymond, Randy Gibbon. Governance Committee consisting of Brian Burton, Pete Raymond, Randy Gibbon. Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
Zeno aye.
Given aye.
Burton, aye.
Blanchard aye. Raymond aye.
Ryan aye.
Okay, passes. Oh, Mike?
Corey, aye.
Okay, thanks. The resolution
I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Yeah.
yes, we can. 2022-3, resolved that the Chenango County IDA has approved the 2022 official newspaper, depository, legal counsel, and executive director as listed below. Depository MBT Bank, official publication, The Evening Sun, legal counsel Kevin Pohl, executive director Carrie Green. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Given second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
Zeno aye.
Given aye.
Burton abstain.
Blanchard aye. Raymond aye.
Ryan aye.
Corey, aye.
Great. Resolution 2022-4, resolved that the Development Chenango Corporation Board of Directors has received and responded to the bylaws of the County Chenango Industrial Development Agency effective 2024-2022.
Sorry, Brian, there's a correction that should say Industrial Development Agency instead of Development Chenango. We'll make that change on our end.
Oh, yeah, good call. All right, need a motion with the change?
So moved.
Given second.
Great. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
Zeno aye.
Given aye.
Burton, aye.
Blanchard aye. Raymond aye.
Ryan aye.
Corey, aye.
Great, passes. Resolution 2022-5. This should also say
Yeah.
Chenango IDA in 2 spots.
Yeah.
So that the Chenango IDA Board of Directors has reviewed and responded to the items on the authority's budget, authority, mission statement, performance measures document. Also resolved that the Chenango IDA Corporation Board of Directors has approved the authority, mission statement, performance measurements documents for submission to the authority's budget office. Need a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Any discussion? We'll vote.
Zeno aye.
Given aye.
Burton, aye.
Blanchard aye. Raymond aye.
Ryan aye.
Corey, aye.
Thank you. And that's it.
Yep, and then we just have just the confidential evaluation of board performance was the last item. This is, was confidential, so it doesn't say who answer what. Just wanted to make note that 5 of the 7 board members completed this. It's something that we have to do each year, and it's part of our reporting to the ABO. So what you have are just general graphs and summaries of the responses. So unless there's any questions, you don't need to move on it, just to make you aware that it was in your packet.
Does anybody have questions on the performance survey? Okay. Hearing none, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? Vote?
Zeno, I.
Given a.
Bert and I.
Blanchard, aye. Raymond, aye.
Ryan, I.
Corey, aye.
Great. Annual meeting is now adjourned. Okay,
Thank you.
all right. So we will now open the regular scheduled meeting in March 24, 2022, Chenango County IDA Board of Directors meeting. We'll go ahead and roll call ourselves in.
Zeno, I. Or here.
Given here.
Burton here.
Blanchard here. Raymond here.
Ryan, here.
Mike thought we were done.
Oh, allergies. Let me text him.
Mike was like, beautiful, 5-minute meeting, done. Mic drop, I know.
I did text him.
Okay, so we'll, if he pops back on, just fill him in as here.
Okay, yeah.
IDA mission statement. Our mission is to promote, develop, encourage, and assist in the acquiring, construction, reconstruction, improving, maintaining, equipping, and furnishing industrial, manufacturing, warehousing, commercial, research, and recreation facilities, including industrial pollution control facilities, educational or cultural facilities, railroad facilities, and continuing care retirement communities, to provide financial assistance and thereby advance the job opportunities, health, general prosperity, and economic welfare of the people of the county of Chenango, and to improve their recreation opportunities, prosperity, and standard of living, as approved March 22nd, 2022.
We'll change that to 24. We approved it today.
Sounds good. Approval of minutes, need a motion to approve the minutes of February 16th, 2022 regular meeting minutes.
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
Any discussion or corrections? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote.
Zeno, I.
Given
Bert and I.
Blanchard, aye. Raymond,
Ryan, I.
Great. Passes. On to the financial report.
Brian, would you like to do the audit report first and then we can back up? So-
If you would like to, I'd be happy to. I assume we have a representative from Insero and Company, and she's been waiting patiently, so we'll go ahead and let her present the annual audit first.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to share my screen. You guys, can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So my name is Rita King. I am audit supervisor from Chenango Company. I completed this audit this year as well as I did last year. First, I want to thank Carrie and her team for working with us. I know it was a little crazy this year, but Carrie was awesome. She kept reminding me that she wasn't forgetting about me, and it was very nice to work with you again. So first we have the communication letter. This letter is required by government auditing standards, and it just describes the significant audit matters. So the accounting practices and policies. There were no policies adopted during the year and no transactions entered into were that significant that didn't have guidance or support. Accounting estimates, you don't have any significant accounting estimates that affect the financial statements. The biggest disclosure that we say is the most sensitive is the disclosure of capital assets. The financial statements are clear, consistent. We're happy to report there were no difficulties encountered with performing the audit. There are also no corrected or uncorrected misstatements detected. We're pleased to report that there were no disagreements with management during the audit. A representation letter will be sent to Carrie after this for her to sign, and that just details out that you provided us with everything that we requested. You have nothing. There were no consultations with other accountants. There were no audit findings or issues. If we had a question or we saw something, we brought it up. Other matters is we are required to discuss on the required supplementary information, which is your management's discussion and analysis for MD&A. Then your scheduled projects is not a required supplementary information, it's just supplementary. It helps enhance the report, and we do opine our opinion on that. So that's our management comment letter, our communication letter. Our management comment letter describes what an deficiency in internal control is, a material weakness. There were none, so that's pretty much the best you can have. This letter just says there were no issues. And then jumping over to the report, we start with the independent auditor's report, and these first two paragraphs is what everyone wants to know. We are issuing a clean opinion, which is the best opinion you can get on an audit. It goes on to discuss the basis of opinion. This was done in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States and government accounting standards and auditing standards. It describes the responsibilities of management to just provide us with everything we need and answer the questions. Make sure everything is error-free. This next section is new. It describes various auditors' responsibilities in this and what we do in performing the audit in accordance with GAS. And we are required to communicate with those charged with governance regarding any other matters. There were none. Again, it describes the required supplementary information and supplementary information to your MD&A and your scheduled projects. And then it alludes to another report of internal controls. It's at the very end of this report. It's another letter that we are required to present. So then we jump into the management's discussion and analysis. The top is the mission statement that was just read. And this goes through some financial highlights, overview of the basics, financial statements. So you have your statement of net position, statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in that position, and your statement of cash flows. And then here is a condensed version of the actual report and its comparative. So looking at this, your total assets increased about $18,000, and you can see your total cash increased about $45,000, and that's really just a result of operations during the year. It is offset by your decrease, your decrease in your depreciable capital assets net, so disposals and depreciation during the year. Your current liabilities did increase, and that's really a result of the deferred revenue for the prepaid rental income for Protel that happened during the year. And then your total net position, it increased $8,000. So you stayed fairly consistent during the year, and again, that's as a result of operation. The next figure is the condensed version of your changes in that position. So looking at this, you can see your total revenues increased $144,000, and that's really due to your project fees. You have a significant increase of project fees during the year. And your expenses also increased, not as much, they increased about $41,000. And a lot of that is due to your other project fees expenses. So that leaves you with, that's where your $102,000 net income per se comes from. You had a significant revenue over expense ratio. Next figure is just to show your change in fixed assets. So as I said, your accumulated depreciation change, that's normal, changes every year. And then next are the future factors bearing on the entity's future, which Carrie graciously provided me with this whole thing. So unless you guys want me to go through it, I'm just gonna kind of skip over this part. So then we get into the actual statements. So this just breaks it out from what was in the management discussion and analysis. You can see each area. And this is not comparative. Then you have your statement of revenues, expenses, changes, same exact thing. The one thing that's not in the management's discussion and analysis is the statement of cash flows. So your net cash provided by operating activities, you have $39,000. You have principal payments received on your capital lease of $46,000. Some interest, so your net change in cash is $45,000. And this little reconciliation at the bottom shows where all your operating activities come from. So it's really your change in your balance sheet items. And then we get into the footnotes. Note 1 doesn't really change. It's your summary of significant accounting policies, your financial reporting entity, the basis of accounting, your accrual basis, cash and cash equivalents, capital assets, your equity classification, so net investment in capital assets, restricted, unrestricted. Note 2, it talks about your deposits. So your bank balance for the IDA was $478,000, and that was covered by the FDIC limit of $250 and additional collateral. So you were fully collateralized at the end of the year. Your capital lease for the property in Bainbridge, this just shows future minimum lease payments over the next several years until it is completed. Your change in capital assets, again, here's where your depreciation changes. It's an annual change. Note 5 are your lease obligations for the Lieutenant Warren Eaton Airport. Again, it's the future lease payments, and these are based on the CPI for Binghamton region. Note 6 is your payment in lieu of taxes that you have for the pilot with Norwich. Note 7 is your related party administrative service agreement. So that's your agreements with the Development Chenango Corporation and Commerce Chenango to pay for the administrative support services. And it just really details out some other additional parties. And note 8, you guys saw it last year for the economic uncertainty of COVID. Still don't know what's going on with it. Hopefully next year, this note will be gone. Everyone won't have to deal with it. And then the schedule of projects, I know Carrie is working on it. I think we have 1 or 2 more pieces of information, and then this will be updated for the final. And then lastly is the independent auditor's report on internal control in accordance with government auditing standards. This just describes that we have audited in accordance with this, and we've considered the internal controls as a basis for designing the audit procedures. We don't rely on that internal controls, we do not express an opinion on the internal controls. And that is it. Are there any questions?
Rita, there's one thing under note 7 that's not applicable anymore. The second line about the relation about the, a child of somebody who's a part of the agency that works on staff, that actually is not applicable anymore, so we need to delete that.
I heard, I think, every other word of that.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, under note 7, the second paragraph needs to be deleted. The second line, right there. Yeah,
Okay.
that's not applicable anymore since 2020.
Okay,
Okay, just so you know.
I will make that change.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Rita? Okay, Rita, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate the presentation and look forward to working with you again.
I
Thank
said this yesterday during the DCC meeting, but Insero again was fabulous to work with. Rita and Dwayne were wonderful, very patient with us as we were making our way through the process. So thank you.
Great.
Thank you very much.
So at this point, I need a motion to approve the draft audit of 2021.
So moved.
Okay, need a second? Great. Any discussion?
It's just a question.
Sure.
So the final will include the correction to paragraph number 7 plus the update of the projects, right?
Yeah, as soon as we get the project numbers, we'll update that. We are going to have to do our report to Paris without it if we don't get it, because that is required by the end of the month.
Understood.
We get into situations sometimes where we don't get the paperwork back as quickly as we would like to. We've been trying, so yeah, we'll definitely update it as we get the
Very
numbers.
good. That was-
Yeah, and I think with getting those numbers back from company, we run into this every year.
Yeah.
And we've talked before, how do we hold them accountable? Can, because they don't understand how important it is to us to get those numbers back. What repercussions do we have? And really, that's something we'll need to look at continuing forward, because that was also part of the state audit. So we'll continue that discussion, but good question.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
Zeno, I.
Gibbon, aye.
Bert and
Blanchard, aye. Raymond,
Ryan, I.
I. Thanks again, Rita.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, on to the February 28, 2022 financial statements.
All right, thank you. So, we'll talk about accounts receivable and payable when we get to that page. I just want to make a note about note number 2. You'll see that is, that number has not changed. That is the Cascoon lease, which we did decide to sunset. And when we give an update later, we'll talk more about the steps within that project, but that's why that number has not changed. Note number 3 is our prepaid expenses. Our total assets by the end of February are just over $1.4 million. We also have note number 6 is our prepaid rental income. That is the 1-month deposit for Protel, as well as the $1,000 deposit toward the offer to purchase that building. And that will stay in there until we close on that project. Our total liability and fund balance is $1.4 million. On page 2, age receivables, these are pilot fees that have all been billed out. So we have Norwich Chenango Solar, Puckett Solar, and Tiffany Energy have all been billed their annual pilot bills. You'll notice the Norwich Chenango Solar, they did catch up on the old bills, so we're hoping that the current year is paid pretty quickly. I'm so glad to see that is no longer in the over 90-day category. On page 3, our age payable report. So the first thing I want to just note is the NYS&W payment for $67,000. That is the FEMA allocation. So we are in the final stage of closing out that FEMA grant that we wrote back in 2019 for the Halloween flooding. We've been working on that pretty steadily. That's the last check, and that belongs to NYS&W. The money came to us because we applied as the technical on-paper owner of the railway. but the money really is a reimbursement to NYCW to reimburse them for the work that was done. So FEMA's gone through all their process and they've issued this final check to them. The next check that we will receive will be for us. It's for admin fees over the last 2.5 years that we've been working on this. And I just need to have my closeout meeting with FEMA, which is supposed to happen in the next week or two. Any questions on that? I know that's not something we particularly deal with everybody. Okay. Under the airport utilities, that is a reimbursable amount, which is, again, we pay everything for the building at the airport and then we bill back to Proton. And then we have this orb seal coating. This is that, if you remember, we had that 2021 issue of just making sure that what was done was supposed to be done in terms of the cleanup at the airport. I'm satisfied with the report that I got with him and going through the dates, and we had a little back and forth, but we're at the point where I feel comfortable issuing that check now, so we're gonna get that account taken care of. Under the statement of activities, so early in the year, so not a whole lot in here to report. Note one is that rent that we're getting for the building at the airport, which is $7,300 a month. Under pilot, you'll notice all the billed amounts. So that's everything that was billed. We have not received all of that money yet, but that's under the grayed out section. That's pilot project fees is where that is. Again, 2 of our projects have not closed. So once we close and actually receive that money for the closing, this number will go way up. We thought that these projects were going to close in 2021, and then now we're going to close in 2022. So that will adjust this once we have those closing admin fees come out. Our total revenues to date are just under $60,000. There's been very little activity under regular expenditures. We have our contract services, which is your contract with Commerce Chenango for admin fees and office space and all of that. And on page 5, again, just under airport maintenance and utilities, notes 2, this is for the property that we have at Protel. Reminder, when we did the budget, we did not separate this allocation because we knew it was a reimbursement, but we ended up adding a line item for this, so at least we are showing the money coming in and going back out. So that's what those 2 notes are. So to date, our net revenue over expenditures is just over $30,000. We're pretty well on track for the year. And our net activity has us at $31,815. Any questions?
Okay, need a motion to approve the financial statement for February 28, 2022.
So moved.
Need a second?
No second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
Gibbon, aye.
Bert, aye.
Blanchard, aye. Raymond,
Ryan, aye.
Great. Passes. Bills and invoices. Again, 3 of those items were talked about. 4 of those items were talked about in the financial presentation. The Commerce Chenango services and supplies amount is on there every month. And of course, we have a contract with Laughlin. Need a motion to approve the bills and invoices?
I make a motion.
Second.
second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
Gibbon, aye.
Bert, aye.
Blanchard, aye. Raymond,
Ryan, aye.
Great, and those should be going around for signatures. Great. All right, on to the executive director report. Carrie, you're up.
All right, thank you very much. So I like to let you know what's happening with the other organizations under Commerce. So under Commerce Chenango, we did finish our strategic plan. The board has met on it. We had an executive committee meeting, which Brian, I'm not sure if you were on when we went over the strategic plan and how it's going to lay out over the next 3 years. I would like to set some time aside at a future IDA meeting, obviously not this one because it's already a long meeting, to go over that with you in a little bit more detail. So I'll talk with Brian about what the best month is to do that. But some of the items within the strategic plan obviously have to do with the work that we do here at the IDA, as well as Development Chenango Corporation. So I would like to go over that with you in a little bit more detail. The Economic Outlook Breakfast is going to be held in person. Very excited about that. It's going to be on Tuesday, April 5th at the Canastawacta Country Club. I hope you're able to make it if you are. Ken Entman, sorry, does a fabulous job talking about what's happening with the economy, and I know it's a hot topic right now, so as board members, I hope you can attend if you're able to. We're also holding our Chenango County Workforce Summit again this year. This is the second year that we're holding this. It's on May 11th. It's going to be a virtual all-day event. We have a number of speakers that we're lining up. You'll be able to log in. It's free to attend. It's being sponsored, so we don't have to charge anyone to come to this. We're still getting speaker requests, so if you know anybody that would like to be a speaker for this to talk about issues facing workforce, I'd love to talk to you more about it. But there'll be a number of speakers throughout the day. It'll be virtual. You'll have a schedule. You'll be able to log on and attend the sessions that you would like to. So more to come on that, but we're very excited to bring that back to the community. Under Development Chenango Corp., I made an offer to the brand new position that we created yesterday. So very happy to report that Jenna Ostrander will begin with us on Monday, April 4th. This is the brand new position that we hired and budgeted for DCC. So that will be splitting up the work between DCC and the IDA. We've been extremely busy and active on the economic development side of the house. We have a lot of things that we're talking about and working on, which a lot of that is in the strategic plan. So this will help split that work up a little bit. Jenna and Barb together will work on business consulting, workforce development, some of the other initiatives that we have, grant writing, and then Barb will continue to support the work of the IDA. Jenna will support the work of DCC, but you'll see both of them at every meeting. So we really want to make sure that there's consistency because they're going to be working very closely together. So very happy about that. I attended the New York State Economic Development Council Winter Conference last month in Albany. It was a wonderful 2 days, really relevant sessions having to do with all the things that we're talking about. Prevailing wage, there was a session on cannabis use, there was a session on marketing with an economic development hat on, like what that means to promote your area, how tourism and economic development really align together. It was really, really wonderful to see everybody in person. Governor Hochul came and was one of our session speakers, which was really great. There was a whole session on nanobot. I can't think of what the name of it is now. Anyway, it was fascinating. I had a lot of notes on it, but sort of an up and coming industry in the state, and it was wonderful to coordinate with our colleagues. So IDA helps support when I go to things like that. So just wanted to let you know. I know there's been a lot of questions about prevailing wage, so they still don't have the answer really. I mean, it's an hour session that we don't know. So as typical with what happens in the state is there are laws in effect, and we don't know how it's going to roll out. It really matters to us here because of the DRI. Private projects will not be subject to prevailing wage, but we still don't know if municipal projects will, and we can't get an answer. So we're moving forward with the DRI process, and we still don't know if prevailing wage is going to matter when it comes to those municipal projects. So as you know, with prevailing wage, that's really going to change how much those projects are going to cost. But everybody's in the same position as we are. We also have two very big solar and a wind project that are about to start. So again, I know those companies would like to know about the prevailing wage. So I don't know yet. As soon as I know, I'll let you know.
On a side note, Carrie, do a little more due diligence on that. We just found out yesterday it will impact the intern program.
The what? The intern program?
Interns.
Oh, will it?
So-
Yeah, I have, so Bud Sweet is our contact at Empire State Development, and he's been trying to find out the information that he can, Department of State, and I sort of nobody has a clear answer. Some they're speculating yes, some they're speculating no. Like you said, it's going to severely impact. Yeah. So also with the DRI, just to let you know, the open call for proposal ended last Friday. We have just over 20 applications at this point, about $18 million worth of projects. Not all of them are viable. A big part of the DRI is making sure that they're shovel ready and you can make those projects happen in the next 2 to 3 years. Not all of them are that. Some of them are just sort of like wish list, idea, pie in the sky, but it's wonderful to have that because we can take a look at those projects that might not be DRI projects and find other ways to help them. So it's great that it got people thinking and thinking about what they want to do with their spaces and maybe programs and projects they want to bring to the community. The next meeting will be April 12th. That's the local planning committee meeting. We are planning on doing an in-person meeting in May. It will be a combined local planning committee and public comment meeting. The main meeting is when Bergman Associates is going to go through all of the projects in detail and give a presentation to the local planning committee. So more on that when we have that date finalized. And that's it for my report.
Okay, well, why don't you keep on
All
moving
right.
right on to
I'll just keep
pilots?
going, sure. All right, so we did receive a FOIL request. It asked for any wind or energy projects that have been approved as of February, it was some date in February 2022, which is none, because we haven't closed the project yet. So I replied back that we have no new pilots in effect, because we don't yet. So, that, just to let you know, that's a standard response. I didn't really give any additional information. They're welcome to ask again in the next 30 or 60 days. And as we close those other projects, obviously those pilot projects are foilable. They also will be posted on their website, so they're available for viewing. But just to let you know. In your packet, you had a schedule of our projects. So this is, again, something from a report that we got from our process audit from the Authority Budget Office, making sure that we're being purposeful and making sure it's reflected in the minutes that as a board, you have looked at this report. So these are all the responses we've gotten from our scheduled projects for 2021. We are still missing a couple, but you'll see here, it shows their sales tax cap, how much their pilot payments have been, the county tax exemption, local tax exemption, how many employees they have. And like I said, I think there's still 2 that we're waiting on, and it tells you what kind of project it was. This is all self-reporting information. The piece that we need to do is go about verifying the information, and that's a process that the ABO is helping us with right now. But this is what we gave to the auditor, and this will be part of our report this year to the Authority Budget Office.
Does anybody have any questions on that while we're looking at it?
We're gonna be talking, like, take it later, Jerry, on the actual draft report that we get from the state.
Yes, yep. Okay. And just also on pilots, we are pending close, I know I keep saying this, pending closing for Norbit and High Bridge Wind. Barb and I had a phone call with our attorney this week? Sometime in the last few days, I don't remember. It's been a busy week. It's in the hands of the other attorneys. So our attorneys have done everything that they need to. We're waiting for the attorneys for the companies to really just settle on the paperwork and finalizing payments. The one thing that we are going to do is Barbara's going to arrange phone calls between our attorney, us, Steve Harris from Real Property Tax Office, and the assessor from each community. We want to go through the pilot with them as well, just to make sure that there are nothing that they see within it that should be changed or updated before we finalize it. So we're hoping to have those meetings next week, and then we're ready to go. So as soon as Norbit and High Bridge are ready to close, we'll be able to do that. Okay, old business. So we have our draft report of the process audit. You all should have received it from Al Zimmerman. Barb and I met with him and an associate of his on Monday and went through what we considered an exit conference to just go through the next steps. Nothing in this report I think should have been a shock to anybody. It's all things that we talked about pretty openly as far as cleaning up our processes, making sure that we're being purposeful about putting things in our minutes when we're talking about how we evaluate projects and how we're reporting on it. The big thing that I think we need to do internally, and it will be easier to do that now with more staff because we'll have more time to focus on some of this, is setting up those internal processes about going out and getting, reports on employment, reports on tax use. We take all the information that they give us, but we really should be going back and double checking. So going to the county, making sure that, we have receipts, we have the bill.
Payments are made.
Yeah, make sure the payments are made and that they're matched because, people make mistakes. And so, the county might report one number, we have a different number, and then the ABO comes back and says, this isn't correct, which is right. So just things like that, really our internal processes. So the next steps for us is to create a response. So he said, not a lengthy response. This is just basically acknowledging that we received this. I did tell him I wanted to make sure I at least noted that, we've already put a lot of these things in process and note that, which I'm going to, because as you know, we started doing this back in the fall as we started to find out the things that weren't happening that should have been happening. So he said it's only about a paragraph for the response, but it does become part of the report, so I feel like that's really important to do so. So we have 30 days to submit that from the date we received the report. And then once the report is final, we'll have 90 days to put together our response, the corrective action plan. And so the corrective action plan is taking those 1 through 10 items and talking about here's what we did, here's what we implemented, or here's what we're in the process of doing. That will also become part of the report. And we have a little bit more time to work on that. I mean,
The only thing I know, and this is nothing, I mean, I understand what they did, but when they came up with the idea that we were doing our due diligence when we were looking at the projects to do the evaluations, did you approve them or not? Because we're lacking information based on how many jobs it was gonna create, even the construction portion. I remember in any of our meetings we've had, that's some of the stuff we talk about.
we do.
So, we did understand that, how many jobs were gonna be created, how many people were gonna be temporarily working for construction or whatever.
Yeah.
But yet that was something that they found fault with.
So
We
the
didn't
problem,
do that.
yeah, and the problem is now that we know this, it wasn't reflected in the minutes. So we know that we were doing our due diligence, we know we were talking about it, but in our minutes, it wasn't reflected that we discussed job creation. Like, just so now, it'll be in our minutes for the first time that we all got a copy of this pilot schedule and we reviewed it. It needs to be in the minutes, because if it's not in the minutes, it didn't happen. So yes, and he understands that, because he, what he said to us was, well, I can see in the minutes about how you talked about it, how you talked about vetting a project, but he goes, there's not actual data that I can point back to and say, on this meeting, on this date, they talked about job creation. And so that's really just making sure that our minutes are clear and a little bit more fleshed out and being specific about some of those items.
Carrie, I didn't get a copy of that.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Oh, did you want to give me mine? I don't think I wrote on this one. Oh, I did write in this one. Okay.
I think the other point of emphasis that I really got out of that too was the tangible numbers that were being given on these projects by the companies.
Yeah.
And making sure that those numbers are still in place once the project starts and continues. Looking at shortfalls or overruns, honestly, it seemed to be a big touch point in that audit that, are they overutilizing when it comes to things like, I assume, sales tax
Yeah.
exemption and whatnot. But more tangible numbers. I know we always talk about the numbers and we ask questions when it comes to, well, what's the benefit now compared to what they're paying, what's currently being collected. But putting those down, that the actual numbers we're given, and if they don't have them, they gotta give them to us.
Yeah.
That seemed to be a big point in the audit to me.
Have you set up a schedule and a date on when you're gonna request the information necessary according with the audit review was?
Yeah, so we're definitely gonna back it up a little bit. I think we've sent it in December. So I think we're gonna start asking for them in November, and then follow up in January. So I think backing things up a month. Some people are really great about responding and others aren't, we tend to chase them down. So, but yeah, we're gonna work on a year schedule and what that looks like and how to.
Is there verbiage on that form that says not providing this information could be detrimental to the continuation of your pilot or anything
No.
like that?
So we certainly could add that.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
how do you guys
A
feel
little
about that?
stronger language on the report.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's in the pilot agreement.
Right.
But you said it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. We absolutely can have that.
Okay.
And Pete, I sent him your email address. He asked if there were any changes, and I sent him the one, because we had a different one for you. And he said that he sent it, but we'll get you a copy before you go.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks.
of course. So we'll work on our draft response. I'll send it to Randy and Brian and Pete, if that's all right, just as the governance committee, just to have you take a look at it. The first one will be just a short response, and then we'll work on the corrective action plan, and we'll come back to the board with our draft of that as we work on that.
Sounds good.
Just a couple, any other questions about that? Okay, just a couple updates about old business. The incubator property, we did have a phone call with our attorney yesterday about the sale of that property, where he's moving forward. He's contacted their attorney, and our attorney is also working on a draft letter to the ABO explaining what we're doing and why. So we're probably 90 to 120 days out from the sale, but actually going through. But everything is moving along. The Everything Bakery project in Bainbridge.
I'm
oh,
sorry, going back to, did we get the appraisal back yet?
Yeah.
Did we hear, what was that number? I don't remember hearing it.
I have it right here. I'm sorry, I thought we did this at the last meeting.
I don't remember talking about the appraisal. The last meeting, we talked about what the cost was for the
Oh,
two.
gotcha. Oh, okay. So they said $435,000.
Okay.
And then they said the overall value of 435 is reduced by 15,000 to indicate the value of the leasehold of the state, which actually brings it to 420,000. Reminder, whatever they paid toward their lease payments will be deducted from the final asking price, from the final price. But I will email that to you all unless you want to see it. I have it right here. I want to see it.
Has the county got to do anything official for the 99-year lease?
That will be, yes, and it'll have to come to, I guess the attorney already knows about it. We talked about it at the planning meeting. I don't know what that process is, but yes, they'll have to. I think once we're official, we have the official offer and everything is in motion, the county will have to turn that lease over to, or we'll work out that lease with Protel.
Okay, but that may take a week or a month to 6 weeks to get through the
Yeah.
whole system over there, so I just didn't want to have it.
Yeah, I mean, I
slow
told
things up.
Al like a month ago, so I don't know if I need to do anything more official or if it's now between the county and Protel. I don't know how much we need to be involved, but I'll email Alan again and just try to shore up that process.
So I know we made we made a resolution last meeting to move forward with the sale, depending upon appraisal. We finally have the appraisal number. Does anybody have any questions or concerns in regards to the appraisal value versus our asking price? No? Okay. Perfect. It's actually a little lower than we anticipated. I think we kind of assumed it'd be about 450. So. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I'll email you out a copy of the appraisal just so you.
Would everybody like a copy of that?
I would like to come.
Good. Thanks,
Okay.
Carrie.
Thank you. The Everything Bakery project in Bainbridge, we did receive the appraisal back on that as well. It is a little less than what the asking price is for the building. So I am working with the building owner and our attorney. We also need to get an inspection done, and I think the results of the inspection will help us make the case for a smaller amount. So he's asking for 175 and the appraisal came in at 150. It's, according to our attorney, it's not that we can't spend that, but we need to have a good reason why we are. It's fitting exactly the purposes of what we need because of the land available in Bainbridge. Our attorney did advise we could look at some other options like offering to pay for closing costs, offering to pay for heat and utilities and some things like that between now and the closing. It helps offset, if we were able to pay less for the building, we can make up that difference in a different way. It's not that we can't do it, but we really need to have a good reason why. So we're in the process right now of scheduling the inspection. And once we have the inspection back, that will help us. And then Sue will take a look at the inspection and then take another look at the appraisal.
What did the building owner say about the appraisal value?
Oh, he thinks it's worth way more than that. And he thinks the market is really hot right now. And, he has another building that he knows that sold for more money. But it's, I think it's also something, it's his building. He's done all the updates. It's his baby. I think he thinks it's worth a little bit more than normal.
Do you know if it was an internal appraisal? Was it a drive-by appraisal?
Internal.
It was
Yes,
internal.
Sue went and walked through the whole building and took pictures and all of
Okay.
that. So,
Usually those are pretty right on.
yeah, I did call her back after we spoke to the attorney just to say, is there any wiggle room on this? What were some of the factors that pulled into the appraisal? And, we talked through it and she's firm on that. And so, We can go back and try to negotiate, but we should do the inspection first. So we're gonna do the inspection first and then use whatever comes up in the inspection as, you know, the ability to go back and try to negotiate a better price. She said, even if he met you in the middle, and our attorney said that too, like a $25,000 difference is a big chunk of what we're spending. If we could come in the middle a little bit, it's okay to pay a little bit more, but we just need to be clear about why we're doing that.
I assume everybody would like a copy of this appraisal as well.
Is the village at all in contact with this, just to tell them?
Yeah, Phil Wade is on our commerce board, so he's very aware of what we're doing. And they're supportive and excited about it. I went to the Bainbridge Chamber of Commerce meeting a couple weeks ago, and they asked me to give them an update on the project, and there's a lot of buzz about it. But, you know, nothing's final, as they know. So we might have to see what we can negotiate. And then in April, we are going to have Isaiah Sutton and John Camp are going to come and give a presentation about the rail bike project, with using the rail for the cool bike things. Remember they presented, I don't know what they're called exactly. They're rail bikes. Oh, rail bike. So related to that, I have a meeting on Friday with the president of NYSNW. They want to talk about liability. They want to talk about the project a little bit more and what's expected from both sides. Isaiah and John are ready to pull the trigger and start working on this and order the supplies that they need. But we just want to make sure financially and liability wise, everything is figured out. So I have a Zoom meeting with Nathan and Melanie on Friday to go over that. But we'll have a full presentation from them in April. And they're hoping to get it off the ground this summer. So it's exciting. And so that covered my new business. I'm meeting with NYSNW on Friday.
Look at that, 2 birds, 1 stone.
Yeah. And I do have an item for executive session.
Okay. So that really concludes the open meeting part of it. We do need a motion to go into executive session. Do you expect to take action after we come out of executive session? No? Okay, so that'll conclude the public portion of our meeting. At this point, we're going to go into executive session where to discuss a possible legal action, and then we'll come back into public session where we do not expect to take any action. Okay? Thank you to our guests today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck with leadership.
Thank you.
I'm a graduate, believe it or not.